So, a couple of months ago, I shared a video about our grandmothers, and I have to tell you that the response I got was pretty incredible, which I really, really love. Because when you stop and think about it, our grandmothers, they were pretty smart. They were living in a time where they had to be resourceful, they had to rely on themselves to make things work with next to nothing multiple times a day. But there's more than that. They had to be really organized, right? And they had to make a dollar stretch as far as it possibly could. And while they were doing all of that, they still ended up creating some really simple systems that help keep their homes running smoothly. And the best part about that is a lot of those same ideas, they are still being taught today, just with different names. Hey there, my name's Tracy Lynn, and I teach midlife women and men how to right size their homes so they fit the lives they're living today. And in this video, we are borrowing a little grandmother wisdom because let's be honest, they knew what they were doing. When you really stop and think about it, a lot of our grandmothers just didn't deal with the same kind of clutter we're dealing with today. Not because they were better at anything, but simply because that's how they lived, right? They were also dealing with less distractions, allowing them to be more focused, and that really helped to keep things in place. Take my grandmother, for example. She lived on a farm and with so much going on, I can remember her house always being neat and put away. Her rooms looked put together, her kitchen was organized. And here's the part that still gets me. Even when she was in there cooking a full meal, she was baking bread, she was making a salad, the chicken, all the things, right? That kitchen still looked under control. Meanwhile, when my kids were little and I was cooking, I had stuff everywhere. I had this big mess on the counter, pots and pans stacked up on the stove with multiple things all happening at once. And sure, I still managed to get dinner on the table, but the kitchen, well, it looked like a group of 5-year-olds just had a food fight at summer camp. And for the longest time, I thought, well, this is just how I cook. A little chaos, a good meal, we call it a win, right? But the truth is, I was living with a completely different set of habits. So today, we are going to dip into a few of our grandmother's tips and see if we can give them a bit of a modern twist so they actually work for our right-sized homes today. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Our grandmothers bought for need, not boredom. Oh, yes, this is a big one. So our grandmothers weren't walking through stores just to see what they might find or picking up things saying, oh, this is really cute. I'll figure out where to put it when I get home. They bought what they needed when they needed it, and then they went home. That was the whole shopping trip. And because of that, less stuff was coming into their houses in the first place. Now, when you compare that to today, you really can't get any more different, right? Because now we can shop without ever leaving the couch. You sit down for a minute, just to look, and somehow a fully loaded box ends up on your front porch a few days later, and you don't even remember ordering it. Wait, is that just me? It might be. But all those little things, they add up really fast. And before you know it, one drawer turns into an overstuffed collection of Post-it notes, kitchen gadgets, and newfangled organizers we thought were going to fix everything. So the right size flip is pretty simple. Instead of shopping for something to do, start shopping with a purpose. Go in with a plan, maybe even a list, and actually stick to it. And I know that little voice is going to try to whisper in your ear, telling you to check out the clearance section, just in case there is something amazing there waiting for you to find it. But most of the time, that's exactly the stuff that ends up sitting in a drawer later or getting moved from spot to spot because we don't quite know what to do with it. And then all of a sudden, we're back to dealing with more stuff than we need, trying to organize it, trying to figure out where it should all go. And that's the part we can skip, right? Because the easiest way to manage less is to bring in less to begin with. Talk about a mic drop. All right. Our second habit, our grandmothers respected the limits of their space. Now, this is something you hear a lot today, letting your space determine how much to keep. But here's the thing. This isn't something new. Our grandmothers have been doing this naturally without ever calling it a method. If the drawer was full, that was it. If the cabinet was set, nothing else went in. There was no shuffling things around to make more fit. They didn't go out and buy special bins and baskets just so they could squeeze more in. They simply worked with the space that they had. Now, today, we tend to do the opposite. We expand the space. We add bins, we add shelf risers and command hooks. That's my favorite. And then we reorganize over and over again, trying to be able to get more in there. And somehow, even with all of that, that area is stuffed and full and chaotic. So, the right sized flip here is this: let your home set the limit, let your life make the rules. When the drawer is full, you're done. When your cabinet is set, you have enough. And if things do topple out when you grab something, that's your cue to take a step back, decide what actually needs to be there, the things you are currently using in your life today. Keep what you use, let go of what you don't, and get back on track with your space. Okay, the third habit: our grandmothers repaired before they replaced. Back in the day, if something broke, our grandmothers didn't immediately go out and buy a new one. They either fixed it, made do with something else, or found another way to get the job done. Basically, they used what they had. And because of that, their homes didn't fill up with duplicates, even triplicates, and loads of backups. Now, today, many times it's easier to replace something than to fix it. And for a lot of us, that just became the norm. Even for me, it was quicker to grab a new pair of socks than to sew the hole in the pair that I had, right? It was easier to replace a shirt rather than to take the time to fix it. And I'll be honest, I've done that more times than I care to count. But just last week, I had a shirt that needed to be fixed. It was torn on the strap. And instead of tossing it and just ordering another one, I actually sat down and sewed it. And not only did that save me money, it gave me this sense of satisfaction, right? And I sat there thinking, wait a minute, I'm actually in control of what's coming into my house and not the other way around. And that's a feeling we don't get when we're constantly replacing things. Because when everything is just replaced, we end up with extras. We forget to get rid of what we were replacing. So the right size flip here is to slow that cycle down. If something can be fixed, take the time to fix it. And if it can't, get rid of it before you bring in the replacement. Not after, but before. That stops the extras from building up inside your home and gives you a realistic plan going forward for when things do break. And that brings us to our fourth habit. Our grandmothers chose fewer, better items. So they weren't filling up their homes with things that needed to be replaced over and over again. They chose items that were made to last, things they could rely on and would hold up over time. And because of that, they didn't need to replace things quite as much. Now, today, it's so easy to fall into the habit of buying things that are cheaper. But the problem with that is they never seem to last very long. So instead of having one thing that works well, we end up with multiples that kind of work. And that's where things start to build up. And I'll tell you, that is something I'm just starting to switch around myself. So instead of buying the cheaper option over and over again, which was my norm for a long time, I've been slowly switching to better quality items, things that actually last and do the job they're supposed to do. And yes, it is a slower process because the pieces that are meant to last do cost more. And sometimes I have to wait to save up the money before I can bring them into my home. But once you do that, it really does make a difference, because now instead of 22 bottles of face creams, you now have one or two that actually make your skin feel amazing. And instead of a drawer full of plastic food storage containers, that crack, warp, and get melted in the microwave, you've got a small collection of glass ones that keep working over and over again. And that makes it so much easier to let the extras go. So the right size flip here is to take a step back and ask, do I need more of this, or do I need a better option? Because when you start choosing things that last, you naturally need less. Okay, and that brings us to our fifth habit. Our grandmothers used what they had before buying more. If something was open, they finished it. If they had it, they used it. There wasn't a stockpile of half-used items or multiple versions of the same thing sitting around. And because of that, things didn't build up the way they do now. Now, look at today. It's not unusual to have a few of the same type of item, all open, all being used at the same time. Take me, for example. I have 2 bottles of ketchup open in my fridge. Why? I have absolutely no idea. But I have 2 in there and it makes no sense to me. Okay, sidetrack. Okay, so here's how it usually works. You try one, then you see something new that says it works better. You grab that one too, and you open it and start using it. And before you know it, you've got a few options all going at the same time. And sure, it feels harmless in the moment when you're doing it, but that's how things start to build up, right? Because nothing ever really gets finished. So the right size flip here is simple. Use what you have first. Finish what's open, work through what's already in your home. Finish the ketchup bottle before you replace it, and then decide if you actually need more. Because when you start doing that, things begin to level out. And all of a sudden, you're not dealing with a bunch of half-used things anymore. You're just using what you have, and that can make all the difference. All right. Now, when you really step back and look at all of this together, you start to see the bigger picture. It's not that our grandmothers were managing things in their home any better. It's actually the way they lived and how they naturally kept it building up in the first place. They weren't constantly trying to catch up or stay on top of things. They were just living in a way that kept things from getting out of control. I really do love looking back on the classic tips and kind of shifting them around a bit with a new perspective. So they actually make sense for the way we're living today. Because the goal isn't to make things harder or to set up systems that are so overwhelming you just can't keep up with them. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway we can get from our grandmothers. Keep things simple, be practical as you go about your day, and set up little routines that make your home easier to live in. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about going back in time. It's about taking what worked and giving it just a bit of a twist so it works in our homes today. Okay, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so I know to make more of this content to share with you. And also don't forget to subscribe so you know when a new video goes live. I drop a new video every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if you're subscribed, you'll know right away when it comes out. And if you haven't grabbed it yet, be sure to get the Right Size Living Guide. That link is down in the comments below. All right, that's all I have for you this week. Take care and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.